Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to GambleCast. My name is Richard Delaney and I'm your host for today, joined by Jamie Casey and Jessica Lamb of Gambling.com. And today we have a very special episode for you. It's the €20 challenge. I hear you ask, what is the €20 challenge? It's very simple. We had a €20 balance each. We went to whatever book we wanted. We placed whatever bet we wanted over the course of a week. And the aim of the game was to see who could profit from it, who could make the most profit. So there's been a lot of bets, there's been some winners, there's been some losers, there's been some very interesting outcomes here. And we're going to go around the table, we're going to get a little bit of insight from everybody to see how everyone did. How are you guys feeling today? After the week?
Semi-profitable.
Semi-profitable. What about you, Jamie?
Absolutely non-profitable.
Non-profitable. I'm closer to that side of the court as well, I think. So let's start off, let's have a little look. Jamie, your first couple of bets there, how did you do?
Well, not very well, to be honest. I'm looking at my balance sheet here and it looks like a ski slope. Yeah, so I tend to bet in multiples, and looking at my balance sheet it would appear that that's not a very wise way to bet. I started off with a treble, which I didn't think was ambitious whatsoever. You know, you look at the teams, I've got Bayern Munich in there, and Manchester City, and also Lyon, who in the Champions League got off to that you know, amazing start at Manchester City. So, you know, I backed them to build on that against Shakhtar Donetsk at home. They ended up drawing 2-2, but they were actually not even close to winning because they had to come from 2 goals down. So they let me down, and also the one that I was probably most confident in that bet was Bayern Munich at home to Ajax. They ended up drawing 1-1, but yeah, they could have easily, I watched that match, they could have easily lost it. In fact, they should have lost it.
That was a tough one.
Yeah, but little did I know that Bayern Munich were going to go on a pretty poor run. I think they're without a win in 3, maybe even 4 by this stage. So of that first treble, City were the only team that actually came in as a winner. And even they left it late. David Silva got a late winner against Hoffenheim. So not off to a very good start. That was £5 down the drain of my 20, and that kind of set the tone for how my bets panned out.
Okay, cool.
It went a similar way for you as well, I feel, Richie.
Yeah, I mean, I took, to say the word erratic is probably the best way that I approach this.
To be honest, the way I would describe it as Richie didn't take it seriously to begin with.
That's not true. I want to.
Would you like to tell everybody what your first bet was?
So I wanted to have a bit of an icebreaker bet when we were keeping track of these. So I said to myself, I'll put €2 down on a virtual to try out a virtual. So that was Cab Sav at Paddy Power. He was 6-1. I put €2 down on him for an outright, and that didn't come through, unfortunately. My next bet was actually half courtesy of our Italian producer Alex. He's always talking about Bernardeschi for Juventus. I said to myself, they're playing young boys. Last goal scorer, that was €1 at 13-2. Also didn't come through. So that was another difficult one to handle. I went on then for my next couple of bets. I had a couple of fights with accumulators. So one thing that I will say that I learned off the bat here was, when I make accumulators, I always tend to go for a couple of wins, and then I like to finish off with something a little bit more specific. And that really didn't work out for me here. So I went for Champions League, I went for City, Juve, Bayern and Madrid to win. And then I said to myself, United were going to do something and come back with a win, 2-1 against Valencia. That didn't come true. That was 20-1 at Paddy Power. It was €1. So that was my first couple of bets. Quite a shaky start. What about yourself? You had an okay start, no?
I had an okay start. I felt pressurised. There was peer pressure. I was intending on waiting until the weekend when there was some horse racing that I knew about, and some horse racing I could be pretty confident. But then as soon as we set up this challenge on Tuesday, the boys started putting in their bets, and I really felt peer pressure. I thought, I have to place a bet. That's how it goes. So my first double did not win because of such peer pressure. However, I then had a really nice bet which I really enjoyed. I'm going to say it's the bet of the week, which was Peak Rock, a little filly trained by Henry Daly in England, was running a banger. Just moved to Henry Daly's, and I saw this mega stat on Raceform Interactive saying Richard Johnson had some crazy, the jockey Richard Johnson had some crazy stat for trainer Henry Daly, and some crazy form figures like 1-2-2-1-1-1 in their last like 10 teamings up. So I backed Peak Rock at 9-1 first thing in the morning, was sent off at 3-1 and did win. That kind of is the profit that I have been hanging on to until the end of the game. But they were not all winners.
The thing that I like about your bets is that they were informed in some way. You know, you
It's
use
true.
stats and stuff.
It's true.
I definitely didn't do that. And it was definitely for the purpose of this podcast. I wanted to explore this sort of more erratic betting. It wasn't because I actually tried. It was just, you know, I basically just wanted to see what would happen if I bet like this. That's how I'm justifying it to myself anyways. But
Jamie, what do you think about Richie's... what do you think about Richie's comment there?
Well, I like the fact that you use stats to, you know, to predict your outcomes. In football, I tend not to do that because in football you can interpret stats in many different ways, and you know, even if a team has, you know, a poor record against this team, it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, these you know, the two teams that come head to head on the day are going to be different from last season. The way you used the stats seems a lot more informed, and it's you know, I think applying those to racing is applying stats to racing definitely seems to be a more wise approach than applying stats to football.
I quite like that answer.
That's a very good answer, and I was expecting him to just slate you, but he
no, he took it very political.
He quit with the negative,
yeah, I like
and
that.
went straight to the
I like
positive.
that. So, Jamie, bring us through your last couple of bets there then.
Yeah, so I didn't learn my lesson after my first one. I went for I went for another multiple. This time I reduced my treble to a double, and I went very close in this one actually. I can't remember the odds exactly, but I was pretty confident in it, so I put €10 on it. So at this point I was down to 15, so I thought, okay, I'm going to go big here and put £10 on. I backed Salzburg to beat Celtic, which came in. Celtic took the lead in that game, but Salzburg came back. I think it was 3-1 the final score. So that was a win. They were favourites to win that. I think odds were around 11 to 10. So a decent price for you know, Celtic are pretty poor in Europe, especially away from home. So that was quite predictable. I doubled that up though with Rangers to draw with Rapid Vienna. Draws are always very difficult to predict, and when you put them into a multiple, you'll see your odds, you know, boost massively. And I'm always seduced by that. So you know, sometimes I look at a draw and I think, oh, that's pretty predictable. But with hindsight, it's always the most difficult outcome to predict, and that proved the case. It was 1-1 up until I think about 5 minutes to go, and Rangers got 2 late goals and ended up winning 3-1. So that beat my bet. So yeah, I did learn my lesson. I went for another multiple, and it didn't come in, but this time at least I was close.
So I think I was kind of similar to you in that I tried to teach myself a lesson, because after my second accumulator didn't come through, that was for Tottenham, Dortmund, PSG and Liverpool to win. I then was looking for an outright for Napoli against Liverpool, and that didn't come in, so I bounced back and went the other way again. I went for another accumulator, and this one got to me. So this was AC, Arsenal, Chelsea and Villarreal to win. And that would have come through, but Villarreal ended up drawing 3-3 with Spartak Moscow. That was €2 on that. And then I went a little bit bananas. I went for exactly 3 goals, exactly 10 corners, and exactly 4 cards in Arsenal against Karabag. And I was only 2 cards off that one, which was quite upsetting. But I also decided at that point, because I was down to a balance of 375, that I needed to start being a little bit more sensible with my bets. I went for Arsenal to beat Karabag at 1-2. I stuck, I believe, €1 on that. Didn't really make much profit off that, of course. And then, yeah, I went for Celtic to beat Salzburg, and then City to beat Liverpool. And then I finished off with an esports bet that was Heroic to beat G2 at 7-5, which also didn't come in, leaving me with a grand sum of 50 cents at the end. Tell us about your last couple of bets there, Jessica.
So, having made a tidy profit on Peak Rock, I then went for Tony O'Hare of the Racing Post tip at Cork on the Friday evening, I think. It's all a blur. Burcasso, who finished second, beaten only half a length. Still, I backed it each way, so I'm still now up to €36. And then, obviously, with such a bolster, I decided to be a bit crazy. Went for a nice... went for a double on 2 very short price favourite, Good Time Tara and Temper State Floresco. Good Time Tara did win 4-7, not much use to anybody. Temper State Floresco ran a horrific race. I think it was third, beaten about 1,000 lengths. And that was kind of the end of the joy for me. I had a lucky 15 on the same afternoon. Dubai Rainbow did win at Dundalk, and Good Time Tara won in that lucky 15. Queen's Boulevard, though, in the bumper for Willie Mullins at Goran Park, finished nowhere at all. And to be honest, I can't even remember what the last horse was. But that was the lucky 15 that kind of ended the game for me. I had plenty of ideas for the weekend. including my favourite idea, which was Corals had a handicap bet available for the Arc de Triomphe a Longchamp on Sunday. It was betting on distances and had Cloth of Stars to win with an 8-length head start at 14-1. I think that bet actually did come in. However, I had no bets on the weekend because I forgot.
Oh gosh, okay. Well.
So I finished up with 27 euros, so a profit of €7.
Not too bad at all. Were you overall happy with your performance? Were there many highs and lows?
I think that if I hadn't let it slip over the weekend, I think I could have beaten a certain person who we may mention later. However, that wasn't the case.
Okay, I'd like to move on to that person now and speak about him.
Yes.
We did have a fourth competitor in this €20 challenge who managed to do significantly better than the rest of us.
We're
He was
not
our,
really sure
our
why.
producer Alex, who's behind the camera at the moment. I have a graph here that I might just show to the camera, which shows Alex's balance history. So you can see
And
Not
for
too bad
comparison,
at all.
Jamie might put up his balance history as a comparison.
Nice
here.
piece.
this is my history here. So
Very much
well, there you go.
opposites.
That's stats,
Opposites
folks. That's what
there.
it is. So Alex did particularly well. He managed to come in with a profit of, he ended up at 62, so he had a profit of 42 from his €20.
And this was all down to his Italian knowledge.
Yes. So Alex, I can't remember what your first bet was. I believe it was Champions League. But yeah, there was a couple of, I think he stuck with outrights. He went for, things that were relatively low stakes, but he managed to come out with a couple of pretty decent winners, much to our upset,
It was upsetting. That's why we've actually disqualified him from the competition.
Yeah, he won't be playing it.
Yeah, which makes me the winner.
Well, there you go. Yeah,
Perfect.
In the bet without market, you were the
In the bet without, I was. Yeah.
So what's the overall thoughts then, Jamie? I'll go to you. This €20 challenge. What would you change for the next time? Is there any other approach you'd take to your bets?
Yeah, well, we mentioned Alex there, and I think the most notable thing about his success was that all his winners were singles. So he was, and they were all football results. So a home win or an away win. He didn't have any winners on any draws. So he stuck to he picked a team and he backed it. He didn't put it in a multiple. When you look at my history, I got seduced by the odds of putting in a couple of teams on the same in an accumulator, and it didn't pay off for me. It paid off for Alex. I think he had the likes of Napoli to beat Liverpool, a really good prediction. He also had Parma to beat. I think it was Genoa. I can't remember who it was exactly, but either way, he stuck to a good method of just picking the team that he was most confident in and backing them, instead of picking a couple of teams that he thought were looking a good price. And it really paid off for him. You see his final tally, he streaks ahead of me. He streaks ahead of most of us, to be honest, but particularly me.
I think actually that Jamie makes a really good point here, because if you actually look at the bets that I made, my best bets and my most profitable bets were also singles on horses that I really, really fancied, that I could really see they had a case for them. When I went for multiples, doubles, or when I went for the Lucky 15, you're just throwing horses in to make up the numbers, and it doesn't pay off. Whereas in the Lucky 15, I actually had two winners, and one of them was a very decent one at 5-2, and one very comfortably at Dundalk. So I could have maybe had 4 or 5 horses singly winning and had more of a profit than I had trying to go for the multiples. And that was the same for you, Jamie. Richie's strategy had no strategy, so I don't know how you could improve for next time.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm thinking the same way as Jamie is. I mean, singles seem to be the way to go here. I as well got seduced by these big accumulators, threw in a couple of very specific kind of results. That one where I went for exactly 10 goals, exactly 3 goals, 10 corners and 4 cards. Again, got very much seduced by the odds there. I like the look of it. So I think the learning experience here is to hone in, be a little bit more conservative with my guess anyways, like Alex did. And that's pretty much what we've learned from the first €20 challenge. Did you enjoy it?
A little bit.
I did enjoy it, because although I didn't have much success, I like doing multiples because they're fun. Even though what I've learned from this is that it's probably best to stick with singles. I'm probably still not going to apply that to my real life gambling, because I like doing multiples. It's fun, and also you have the cash out option if as in my case I was going close In a real life situation, I probably would have had a cash out option there. I may or may not have taken it. I probably wouldn't have taken it, to be honest, in most cases. But yeah, no, it was fun, and yeah, I'm probably not going to learn too much, in terms of how I gamble in reality.
Okay, cool. Well, listen, thank you both very much, and thank you to Alex behind the camera for participating in the first €20 challenge. I'm sure we'll do something similar down the line. Maybe we'll up the stakes, maybe we'll lower the stakes. Who knows? For anybody who is watching or listening in, make sure to check us out on Spotify, SoundCloud, iTunes, and now iHeartRadio in the US as well. If you search GambleCast there, you'll be able to find us. Check us out at Gambling.com on Twitter for all the latest betting strategy, previews, tips, all that sort of stuff. And yeah, until the next time, we'll say bye-bye.